Flashback, Episode 54, The Mafia and the Gaslighting Psychiatrist. Finally, we arrived at the Mafia warehouse, located in the Bronx in New York City of Dis. We had fulfilled all of the stipulations required of us by the Mafia to obtain their forgiveness and their aid. We needed to secure their forgiveness for having killed 2 of their foot soldiers, albeit in self-defense, and to secure more forgiveness for breaking into a protected client's penthouse, and finally to gain the Mafia's help to assault Soros's upstate New York Lilydale compound fortress. With the cult of Baal after us here in New York, we had to hasten our plans. We needed the mob's help to retrieve the Devil's Crown of Baal from Soros's upstate New York Lilydale compound fortress. Prior to arriving to the mobster warehouse, we had called our contact. We called the dapper mobster named Lusso, who was the lieutenant to Mafia Big Boss Barney, whom we had paid off at the Riverdale mansion before he blew it up. We had paid Lusso to secure help to assault Soros's Lilydale compound. We made no secret of our approach. We pulled up and parked right next to the mobster warehouse, to its main entrance. We entered the warehouse, but to our shock and total dismay, there stood alongside dapper Lieutenant Lusso and 4 foot soldiers was Dr. Caselli, my previous psychiatrist. It was inconceivable. How could Dr. Caselli, chief criminal psychiatrist from the Scottsdale Psychiatric Prison for the criminally insane, how could he be here in New York? And here with the Mafia and with Lusso? Well, mobster Lusso, apparently seeing confusion, explained, "Look, I have a friend that asked me to arrange a meeting between you and the good doctor here." Lusso said, "And so, here he is, and here you are. Meeting convened. Have at it." Lusso assured, "Don't worry. Unless you say otherwise, we're a go for tomorrow." I looked at everyone to see if they had any concerns with our assaulting Soros's Lilydale compound fortress tomorrow, with the aid of the Mafia and Lusso, of course. Not wanting Caselli to know what was going on, I replied simply generally, "Works for us." And Lusso simply nodded generally. We were a go for tomorrow. Lusso gestured to Caselli that it was time for him to begin speaking. Caselli shook his head and bemoaned, "Oh, Richard, what have you done?" He asked rhetorically, "Why did you choose to break out of the ward? Why, Richard, have you come to New York City?" Caselli explained, "We've tracked you, Richard, with the aid of the FBI and their systems and technologies. Their cameras, which literally are everywhere, Richard. They have them on bank ATMs, in everybody's smartphones they can tap. They're on every street lamp and corner and street light. They're just everywhere, Richard. You have become quite the social meme, too. All those internet uploads. Yes, Richard, I have enjoyed watching you being, frankly, a crazy, quixotic nut job. You have made it easy, Richard, to track your movements throughout New York. And of course, we have tracked you through the FBI and the Mafia's informant networks." Caselli said, "Oh, Richard, we have learned that you've traveled by train from Arizona all of the way here to New York. And you took buses to get to Riverdale up in the Bronx." Caselli claimed, "Oh, Richard, you were squatting inside a Riverdale vacation home. But neighbors saw you there, and they called the police. Fortunate for us, for that triggered the FBI to get involved, due to you being a wanted fugitive federally. Well, given your status as an extremely dangerous criminal and an insane fugitive, the FBI naturally engaged with the courts, and therefore with me, your psychiatrist. Caselli declared, Richard, you have been involved in many incidents in New York City. You have broken into property. You have killed people. I have seen it all on social media, Richard, and the police reports. Richard, you are famous for all of the wrong reasons. You, Richard, are out of control. Caselli stated, Oh, Richard, you allege that you do all of these things with your friends, your comrades. However, they do not exist. Your friends are not real. They never existed. They have never been real. Caselli claimed, not only, Richard, have you killed people in your misadventures. Oh, Richard, you have now killed FBI agents at the Riverdale house that you were squatting in. You say they were cultists. They were not cultists. They had nothing to do with God or the devil. Caselli stated, you are so convinced by your insanity that you could not see what is real and what is not. You killed FBI agents, not cultists. Caselli asked, what did you think of death of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? But Caselli gave no opportunity for me to respond to his question. He was more interested in hearing his own voice and his grandeur than hearing my answer. Caselli stated, Oh, Richard, death was a prop. It was not real. Death was an animatronic machine. Again, it was not real. Caselli condemned, Richard, you cannot tell the difference from a puppet, from a machine, from fiction, from reality, from truth, from fact. Caselli said, your entire mission for God is a charade. It is fake. It is fiction. Caselli judged, you run around, Richard, as if the world was a masquerade party that you enjoy, that was made just for you to play and party within. Caselli pulled a cloth cover off from a mirror that was suspended on a pillar. Apparently the mirror and the cloth, I guess, were always there. He asked, tell me, Richard, where are your friends in the mirror? Caselli asserted, they are not there, Richard, because they are not real. Caselli asked, tell me, Richard, you yourself look into the mirror of reality and see things as they really are. Tell me, what do you see? Well, I gazed into Caselli's mirror of reality, and I saw an old, decrepit, haggard man. I did not see a heroic knight. I did not see a warrior for God. No, I saw, maybe I was living a delusion. I saw I was living in a fantasy of my creation. I saw that I was living a lie. Everyone else was out of my sight. So all I could see in my tunnel vision was just me, the old, worn, and haggard man who was clearly, apparently, me. It was too much to bear. I just collapsed onto the floor under my own weight. I began sobbing. I couldn't take it. Katie, seeing my apparent defeat by the words of the evil psychiatrist, she declared, "He's lying! He's lying! He's gaslighting you! He's gaslighting us, everyone!" She insisted, "I'll prove it! I'll prove it!" And Katie pulled her Walther 9mm pistol out, and she aimed it straight at Caselli. Caselli exclaimed, "No, no!" And he fled back behind Lusso and his soldiers. Caselli pleaded in a near panic, "Richard, put the gun down." "Things will be okay," he assured, still panicked behind the mobsters. It was odd how Caselli focused only on me, looking into my eyes and not at the person, Katie, who was aiming her gun at him, threatening his life. Well, I attributed Caselli's focus on me only made sense to the fact that I was the group leader, and so I could make the team and therefore Katie stand down. Lusso looked straight at me, just like Caselli did, and he commanded, "Put the piece away, or our deal ends with you dying right here, right now." Well, Lusso's soldiers were also not pleased with a gun being pulled out in front of them. They took action immediately. Lusso's thugs certainly did not expect Katie to pull a gun, and so they too brandished their guns, pulling them out, and they aimed straight at Katie and at me. Katie hastily said, "I'm not going to shoot," and she lowered her gun. She said, "Richard, if I'm not real, like that shrink said, then why did he run from me when I aimed my gun at him, and why are they threatening me?" I rose from the ground and I declared, "You're right, it is a trick. They seek to beguile me, to trick us all." I declared, "The flaming dagger of choice and destiny, it ignites in fire. That proves that all that I have seen and said is true." Lusso, apparently quite tired of our exchange, dismissed us. He had someone directively drive Caselli back to his hotel against Caselli's wish, to ensure, of course, that Caselli was safe from us and our guns. And we left. As we walked to the car, I declared, "What wound matters to the body or to the mind of a knight errant? What evil can stop the mission quest for God?" I passionately questioned. I announced, "We will not be discouraged or thwarted by this devil psychiatrist. We will not be tricked by a devil in psychiatrist clothing, by this extension of the devil, by this deceiver." I said, "It is clear the psychiatrists, the FBI, the system, they are all puppets that work for the devil, for Baal." I vowed, "We will stop the degradation of culture from spreading. We will stop the cancerous return of Sodom and Gomorrah. We will end all the evil. Sodom and Gomorrah will not return with their crime and deceit and daily fare of death and horrors. We will not let pedophilia be normalized and legalized and abused. We will not live where child gender transitions and surgeries are okay. I declared, we will enlighten the world and we will stop the spread of moral decay. I vowed, we will stop the cancerous growth that is making the world into an international, global Sodom and Gomorrah with normalized, globalized sin. I looked to the team to secure their buy-in, that we would never, ever surrender, that we would never, ever give up, that we would fight for good and for righteousness, always, that we would always fight for God, and that we would always fight and pursue the mission quest. I asked, what is more crazy? To lay down arms and surrender? Taking the path of least risk and danger? Leaving the world and the weak to suffer, the disadvantaged to be unaided? Or is it better to fight for righteousness and for God, and thusly help the needy, help the suffering and the down and out? I declared the good must and should and must always outweigh the loss. But we must fight for integrity, for values, for morality. We must never, ever lose our faith in our cause or in God. We must be prepared to sacrifice everything, even ourselves, for God, for God's mission quest, for God's glory. We must quest onward for God.